how did you get that footage of Diddy?
I think most journalists would not disclose their sources.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy.
There are no misconceptions about it.
Gene Deal, who witnessed the aftermath firsthand, doesn't mince words. He places responsibility squarely on Diddy, arguing that the tragedy could have been prevented. Security was insufficient. Warnings were ignored. Planning failed. Deal insists that power comes with responsibility, and that responsibility was neglected. For many viewers, this section is one of the most sobering moments in the documentary. It's a reminder that influence isn't just about success. It carries weight. And when mistakes happen at that level, the consequences can be devastating.
Yeah, my mom's gorgeous. Well, let me introduce you to my mom, called Mom Dukes.
Hi.
She's getting a drip with me. She's hydrating. What's up, Mom?
Everything's good, baby. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Rather than relying solely on legal threats, Diddy reportedly chose another strategy, counter-programming. According to insiders, he began planning his own documentary, one designed to present his version of events and reinforce his innocence. On the surface, it sounds like a reasonable response. Tell your side. Control the narrative. Push back against accusations. But the documentary points out a critical flaw in that approach. This story isn't just about opinions. It's about footage, documents, and eyewitness accounts that already exist. Releasing a personal documentary doesn't erase recorded history. It doesn't invalidate contracts, videos, or sworn statements. And critics argue that by pushing his own narrative, Diddy may have unintentionally escalated the situation. Instead of calming the storm, it fueled it. People began comparing stories, timelines, and claims side by side. Every denial was met with renewed scrutiny. Every statement invited more questions. The documentary suggests that sometimes silence limits damage, but rebuttals invite deeper investigation. In this case, the response may have widened the spotlight rather than shrinking it.
She came out defending her son, man. How you feel about that? She made a comment saying that he's not a monster.
I guess this is my newfound career, so I'm gonna say what on my mind and what I think, brother. First of all, that's his mother. Wrong, right, or indifferent, she gonna lie, steal, kill, and protect her child. That's what she's supposed to do. But the apple don't fall far from the tree, man. You got to realize that. You know, he didn't get all this from his daddy because he didn't know his daddy, even though they try to say his daddy was some big time drug dealer in the whole 9 yards. You understand? He didn't get this from his daddy. You got to realize, man, you know, his mother had a modeling agency, and it was alleged that it was also Ladies of the Night, a prostitution ring too.
As the documentary moves forward, it introduces one of the most unsettling sections yet claims reportedly shared by Cassie, someone who spent years inside Diddy's private world. According to accounts referenced in the documentary, the atmosphere inside Diddy's household wasn't just intense, it was tightly controlled and deeply unconventional. Janice Combs' influence, by these descriptions, extended far beyond normal family involvement and shaped daily life in ways outsiders rarely saw. Cassie allegedly described behaviors and routines that felt ritualistic rather than casual. There were traditions that newcomers found confusing, moments that felt scripted, and an unspoken expectation that everyone follow a certain order. Nothing was random. Nothing was spontaneous. Everything flowed according to rules that were never written down but strictly enforced. What stood out most in these accounts was the emotional pressure within the household. Guests, partners, and even close associates reportedly felt like they were stepping into a space where hierarchy mattered more than comfort. Janice's presence loomed large, even when she wasn't physically in the room. Her standards shaped behavior, conversations, and interactions. The documentary is careful not to sensationalize these claims, but frames them as patterns that, over time, shaped Diddy's worldview. If true, they explain how control became normalized and why boundaries often felt flexible inside his circle. For outsiders, these stories are shocking. For insiders, they were simply how things worked. This environment, described as both magnetic and overwhelming, reportedly left a lasting impact on everyone who passed through it. It wasn't just a household, it was a system.
But when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak offs. All right, so tomorrow Peacock is dropping. According to the Rolling Stone, the doc features an alleged childhood friend of Puff's, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. He alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home. He says that during the parties, it wasn't uncommon to walk into rooms where adults was having sex. I mean, that was just their normal. And the doc, when talking about the parties, Tim says verbatim, "That's what we were privy to. This was what we were fed. Was it the same?"
Gene Deal returns in the final segment, grounding the entire story in accountability. He reiterates what he has said for years: power demands responsibility, and when that responsibility is ignored, people get hurt. He points again to the 1991 tragedy, emphasizing that warnings were there, risks were known, and decisions were made anyway. In his view, success doesn't erase consequences, it magnifies them. The documentary closes not with accusations, but with questions. About influence. About silence. About how many people looked the other way because success made it easier to do so. It leaves viewers with an uncomfortable truth. Stories like this don't exist in isolation. They're built over years, protected by power, and revealed only when enough people decide to speak. And once they do, there's no putting the lid back on.
This man was talking about that his mother could take her palms and bend over and put them down on the floor. Not bend over, but she could stand straight up and put her palms on the floor, bruh. He's saying that about his mother. Who describes any of their mother actions like that in a sexual way? And then, you know, I don't know how many dudes do kiss their mother in their mouth when they 50, 60 years old or something like that. That's them. That's their whole thing, man. But that was a little kind of weird for me. And then his mother wore the same white fingernail polish that Cassie described that he liked to see her and other models in when she was describing her lawsuit. And what's crazy to me is that, man, it seemed like him and his mother had this, I don't want to get too deep, man.
As word of the documentary's second season began circulating, Diddy's inner circle reportedly moved fast to shut it down. Legal pressure followed almost immediately. A cease and desist letter was filed, accusing the project of being defamatory, misleading, and intentionally damaging to Diddy's reputation. According to statements from his legal team, the allegations presented were described as exaggerated, unverified, and unfair. They claimed the documentary crossed ethical lines by relying on personal accounts rather than proven facts. On paper, it looked like a standard damage control move. But here's where things get interesting. That legal action did not come after season 1. Netflix passed on the first season, and despite its controversial content, no cease and desist was issued at that time. The legal response only arrived once news of season 2's revelations began leaking. That timing raised eyebrows across the industry. Critics pointed out that if the claims were truly baseless, the response would have been immediate from the start. Instead, the pushback came only when insiders began whispering that season 2 went far deeper and exposed far more. The documentary frames this as a defensive reaction, not a proactive one. An attempt to stop something before it gained momentum rather than to correct the record after the fact. Whether intentional or not, the move only drew more attention to the project. In today's media climate, trying to silence a story often amplifies it. And this legal step did exactly that.
But why you believe she knew about the freakos?
Because one of the witnesses said she was there. And then you remember this, bro? Check it out. People tell off on themselves so much, man, and I don't understand when people don't catch it. Diddy has said this. He said, when I give a party, I have to have an ambulance outside of the house. Paramedics ready. That people have to take IVs. Remember the time that him and his mama kissed each other on the lips?
Yeah, I remember that video.
Do you remember that both of them was getting an IV at the same time?
Yeah, I did notice that, yep.
That's from the Diddy freak off party. And I'm going to say allegedly.
So let me ask you this. You knowing her at one point, you knowing her personally, is she the kind of person that, you know, will be a part of a freak off or no?
I think that she liked to party and she partied with young people. She's always been like that. She always copied or emulated Little Kim and Mary J. Blige. Or they emulated her. The blonde hair, the nails, the high boots, the age-appropriate, inappropriate clothes.
Gene Deal, one of the closest witnesses to Diddy's rise, described the bond between Diddy and his mother as unusually intense. After his father's death, Janice reportedly placed adult responsibilities on Diddy at an early age, naming him the man of the house. That title came with expectations, discipline, loyalty, and accountability far beyond his years. Over time, her influence grew more pervasive. According to Deal, Janice's guidance extended into every aspect of Diddy's life. His social circles, his parties, his business relationships, nothing happened without her awareness. This level of involvement blurred boundaries between parental support and control. The documentary suggests that while this structure helped propel Diddy to extraordinary success, it also shaped behaviors that later became controversial. Control became normal. Authority became expected. And compliance became assumed. These early dynamics didn't disappear when Diddy became famous. They scaled with his power.
A relationship, whether it's physical or mental, with a mother and a son. So I'm looking at his mother and him on the couch, and both of them are getting IVs after one of the Diddy parties. Allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly because I wasn't there and I didn't know, but they showed them both getting IVs on the couch. So my whole thing about this thing is that I'm not saying that she was ever at a freak off, she was ever at that type of party, but you can't tell me Miss Janice Combs, who was always at the regular parties, didn't know nothing about the freak off part.
As explosive as the allegations are, the documentary also acknowledges the response, or lack thereof, from Janice Combs. She has publicly denied the claims presented in the series, rejecting the idea that she manipulated or controlled her son's empire behind the scenes. However, what has drawn just as much attention as her denial is what hasn't happened. Despite the seriousness of the accusations, neither Janice nor Diddy has taken formal legal action against 50 Cent or Netflix over the documentary's content. No lawsuits. No aggressive injunctions. No public courtroom battle. For many observers, that silence speaks volumes. Legal experts interviewed in the documentary suggest that defamation cases are often pursued quickly when claims are completely false. The absence of legal retaliation has fueled speculation that at least parts of the story may be difficult to dispute. 50 Cent himself has hinted that this lack of response isn't accidental. According to him, the narrative hits close enough to reality that challenging it publicly could invite even deeper scrutiny. Whether that's true or not, the optics are impossible to ignore. The silence has only amplified interest. Instead of shutting the story down, it has allowed it to grow louder.
For the situation where they say he was trying to shape Misa into his mother, can you see that? Like,
Yeah, with the blonde hair and yeah, and all of that. I mean, somebody
really
asked a question: what kind of man puts his hands on his mother? The same kind of man that parties with his mom, the same kind of man who kisses his mom in the mouth, the same kind of man who seems to have accurate knowledge that his elderly mother can put both of her hands, her palms, on the floor and while she's standing up, bent over.
Oh damn! I ain't seen that one. Oh.
You never seen the Instagram video where he was talking about how his mom is still young and spry and how she still liked the party and how they was getting a IV drip?
Oh. Damn.
And she was kissing him in the mouth on the video. And he was like, "Yeah, my mom can bend over and touch the floor with her palms." It's a very, very, very weird relationship.
50 Cent, never one to back down, responded publicly and without hesitation. Rather than retreating, he leaned in. Through social media posts and interviews, he openly promoted the upcoming documentary, making it clear he wasn't intimidated by legal pressure. He hinted repeatedly that what had already surfaced was only the beginning. According to him, Season 2 contained material the public had never seen, accounts that had never been aired, footage that had never circulated, and perspectives that had been buried for decades. His response wasn't defensive. It was confident, almost daring. That posture alone convinced many viewers that he believed fully in the strength of his material. Whether motivated by truth, rivalry, or strategy, one thing became clear: 50 Cent wasn't bluffing. And once that message landed, anticipation exploded.
So how you feel about, her? I mean, they alleging that she was, having freak offs.
I spoke to a man, Mr. Brown, who used to go to the freak offs. And this guy lives in Georgia right now. And he told me that he was a stick-up kid back in the day. And one time he had robbed one of their spots. And he went back and he had got the money and gave them their money back and everything like that. And he knew Miss Combs and he knew about her and her freak offs and everything like that. We had always thought that she had a modeling agency, but it wasn't a modeling agency. It was more of a brothel that she ran for high-profile drug dealers and athletes. You could tell by I could tell that Miss Combs at the time, and actually saw her, like young guys. She came at me a couple of times back in my heyday, before the extra 75 pounds back then. And the reason I left Bad Boy wasn't only because of her advances, it was because I got tired of a lot of the bull.
As the documentary digs deeper, it begins drawing connections between Diddy's upbringing and the way he later structured his own personal life. Observers close to him have long noted that the intensity of his relationship with his mother didn't fade with age, it evolved. That influence didn't stop at business decisions or public strategy. It reportedly carried over into how Diddy approached family, relationships, loyalty, and control. Those who watched him closely say the patterns were hard to miss. Authority mattered. Obedience mattered. Roles were clearly defined, even if they weren't openly discussed. Much like the environment he grew up in, Diddy's inner circle often revolved around hierarchy rather than equality. People were either trusted or kept at a distance. Once trust was broken, it was nearly impossible to regain. The documentary doesn't claim this was intentional cruelty. Instead, it frames it as learned behavior. When someone is raised in a system where power equals safety, influence equals survival, and control equals success, those ideas don't just disappear. They become instinct. They shape how someone leads, loves, and reacts under pressure. Former associates suggest that Diddy recreated familiar structures wherever he went, whether in business, friendships, or romantic relationships. The same intensity that helped him dominate the music industry may have also made his personal world rigid and emotionally demanding. This section doesn't excuse behavior. It contextualizes it. It asks viewers to consider how cycles of control pass from one generation to the next, especially when power and success reinforce those patterns instead of challenging them.
Speaking out about the Netflix documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. In a statement to Deadline, she said, "These inaccuracies regarding my son Sean's upbringing and family life are intentionally done to mislead viewers and to further harm our reputation." She also maintains she was not an abusive parent and says that Diddy never slapped her, as previously stated in the documentary.
Diddy's childhood, as portrayed in the documentary, was anything but ordinary. Even at a young age, he lived inside a whirlwind of constant movement, influence, and authority. According to those who were present, Janice Combs ran their home like a command center. People came and went at all hours. Conversations happened behind closed doors. Decisions were made quickly and decisively. There was no such thing as downtime. The house never truly rested. Visitors ranged from neighborhood figures to influential personalities, all operating under Janice's watchful eye. It was an open secret that this wasn't a normal family setting. Power flowed through that space, and Diddy absorbed every lesson. What makes this significant is how early Diddy learned organization, persuasion, and dominance. These weren't abstract concepts. They were daily practices. Janice reportedly demonstrated how to manage people, how to assert control without force, and how to maintain authority through reputation alone. The documentary argues that these skills later translated seamlessly into the music industry. Running labels, managing artists, controlling narratives, it all mirrored what Diddy had seen growing up. His success wasn't accidental. It was trained. This section forces viewers to reconsider the myth of raw talent alone. According to the film, Diddy's rise was fueled just as much by early conditioning as it was by ambition or opportunity.
You think it's Diddy, it's Janice Combs. Janice Combs is Bad Boy. Man. You don't actually sign to Diddy. His name is on a dotted line, but you actually sign it to Janice Combs.
Did he ever tell you why that is, or do you understand?
Oh, now that I'm older, I know exactly what it is. It's a paper trail, so nothing can come bite me. If you come for me, you ain't coming for me. I ain't got nothing. You going to my mama.
One of the most revealing sections of the documentary focuses on the financial structure behind Bad Boy Entertainment. While Diddy has always been the public face, signing artists, hosting events, and commanding attention, the assets themselves reportedly tell a different story. According to footage and interviews uncovered by 50 Cent, Janice Combs has long functioned as the true financial gatekeeper. Documents, contracts, and corporate arrangements suggest that ownership and control were deliberately structured to protect the empire from legal exposure. Insiders claim that Diddy signed key agreements not simply out of respect for his mother, but as a calculated move. By placing assets under Janice's control, the organization created a buffer, one that insulated the business from lawsuits, scandals, and potential financial collapse. This structure allowed Diddy to operate aggressively while maintaining plausible deniability. If problems arose, the assets remained protected. If controversies exploded, ownership stayed untouched. The documentary frames this not as coincidence, but as strategy. Janice wasn't just involved, she was positioned exactly where she needed to be to safeguard the empire.
In the 2000s and 2010s, Diddy was really prospering, music, business, fashion. And one of the things that he had said, what he alleged in the documentary, and again, this is an allegation from him, was that the name Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs's name was not really involved in that on the corporate side. And one of the things he's saying is the reason for that was to avoid having to pay any liability from, the devastating basketball game that had happened in the early 90s, where he was the subject of wrongful death lawsuits because of the multiple deaths that had occurred as a result of that basketball game that Diddy was behind organizing. So that was really, surprising to hear.
Yeah, that was a big allegation, because the families of the victims killed in that stampede, it was horrible. We're talking about December 28th, 1991. Combs, fellow rapper Heavy D, they hosted this charity basketball game. The game took place at the gymnasium of the City College of New York. And according to the New York Daily News, before the basketball game started, people who weren't let inside, they broke a window, swarmed toward the entrance of the gym, all went down a staircase. The doors at the bottom of those stairs opened towards the stairs, not towards the gym. So once a crowd got down there, they couldn't get the doors open and people started being crushed. 9 people died. Dozens of others were injured. And there were no criminal charges that were ever filed against anyone for the stampede, but multiple families and injured victims, they filed.
Here's how a single announcement sent shockwaves through the entertainment world and reopened questions people thought were buried forever. When 50 Cent revealed that Season 2 of his Diddy documentary, Sean Diddy Combs, The Reckoning, was officially coming, it wasn't just another celebrity headline. It was a warning shot. This time, the focus wasn't just on Diddy himself, but on Janice Combs, the woman many insiders quietly describe as the real architect behind the Bad Boy empire. Unlike the first season, which Netflix reportedly passed on due to its controversial nature, 50 Cent made a bold move. He decided to bypass traditional platforms entirely and release this new season directly on YouTube, uncensored and unfiltered. That decision alone changed everything. YouTube meant no studio interference, no network lawyers softening claims, and no pressure to water things down. Fans immediately understood what that meant, content that mainstream platforms weren't willing to touch. According to 50, this season dives deeper than ever before, using previously unseen footage, insider testimony, and first-hand accounts that paint a much more complex picture of how power actually flowed behind the scenes at Bad Boy Entertainment. What makes this even more explosive is the timing. With Diddy already facing mounting legal pressure and public scrutiny, this documentary threatens to reshape how people understand his rise. The narrative shifts from a self-made mogul story to something far more calculated. The message is clear: Diddy didn't rise alone. There was a system, a structure, and a guiding force operating quietly in the background. And according to 50 Cent, that force was Janice Combs.
I was at City College. You understand? I was there. I was doing security. My team was supposed to have the outside. Puff came to me the day before we were supposed to do the job there and told me that Heavy D didn't want us to do the security outside. I had 18 men ready to do the security outside with my dogs like I always do. People knew how we used to roll. We would have the pits, the Rottweilers, you understand? You know, we had that outside locked up. So anybody try to bum rush, anybody do that, we had the gates, the whole 9 yards. So we could stop all that. You know how people gonna get down in Harlem. You understand? So, and then when you got LL Cool J, you got Mike Tyson coming through there, and they coming through the front door so people see them. So they gonna go crazy. LL was the hottest thing out at that time. Mike Tyson was the hottest thing out at that time. They got all kinds of stars and people in there already. They was coming through the back. They came through the front. And it caused the door to be bum rushed. But if they had the gates up, if they had the dogs, and with the help of the police, that shit would have never happened, bro. That shit would have never happened. I was there. I saw it. I saw Jessica run down the steps after she grabbed the money box because my man Eddie was protecting her. And Eddie's the one called me on the walkie-talkie and said, yo, Jessica just locked me in outside the gym, Gene. You couldn't go down the steps after they bum rushed the door. You understand? I had to run around the whole gym on the outside, around the gym, down the steps, run across the basketball court, and open the front door. When I opened that one door, because it pushed inside, people start squeezing through that. Then I just kept doing the doors, and people was coming in there, falling dead, right out, just falling out right there. And once they got in there, they just fell out. It was crazy, bro. You know, he just wanted us to do inside the gym to make sure that nobody, you know, be over the celebrities like that. That's what he wanted my team to do. But most of the celebrities gonna have their own security anyway. You know what I'm saying? That was just a way to cut our security off anyway. So he cut the security and he got the FOIs, and the FOIs left their post, and that's how the people bum rushed the door, and 9 people died by going down those corridors.
And you blame Diddy for that?
Yeah, I do. It's his fault.
The reason behind this structure becomes clearer when the documentary revisits a tragic event from December 1991. Diddy hosted a high-profile celebrity charity basketball game at City College. The event drew massive crowds, far beyond what security could handle. What followed was chaos. A crowd surge turned into a deadly stampede that claimed 9 lives. Families of the victims filed lawsuits, and Diddy faced the harsh reality of legal exposure at a young age. According to insiders, this moment permanently changed how Diddy approached ownership and risk. It became clear that fame came with consequences, and that assets could disappear overnight if things went wrong. From that point forward, keeping ownership under his mother's control wasn't just emotional, it was survival. The documentary presents this tragedy as the moment the empire's defensive architecture was built.
And again, I know the freak offs that his son is there. Like, it seems like he likes to get down with his kids.
Yeah. But that wasn't all. Just to hear Little Rod say, like, the boys were around. Roger Bonds talked about the children as well. What kind of parenting relationship is that? But then again, that goes back to the conversation of Lori Harvey. Steve Harvey's daughter. It was all known that she was spotted in them streets with Justin, and then she was spotted in them streets with Diddy, and they all tried to sit there and pretend like that wasn't what it was. Like, I don't know if anybody has not noticed, but ever since Diddy got pinched, they've all been trying to pretend like all of the stuff that we've seen that happened, that they was all involved in, didn't happen.
From the very beginning, Janice Combs was described as intensely ambitious, focused, and strategic. After her husband's death, she didn't retreat or shrink back. Instead, she doubled down. According to former associates, she made a conscious decision to shape her son into something greater, someone who could command attention and rise beyond their circumstances. Diddy wasn't just her child, he became her long-term investment. Close family friend Patterson recalled vivid memories of their living room transforming into a stage. Guests would gather, conversations would pause, and young Diddy would perform. He danced, entertained, and soaked in the attention as adults cheered him on, shouting encouragement. It wasn't innocent fun. It was training. Janice understood the power of presence early and made sure her son learned it too. These moments weren't accidental. Insiders claimed Janice intentionally placed Diddy at the center of attention to condition him for public validation. Approval became currency. Applause became reinforcement. Over time, this shaped Diddy's personality, confidence mixed with a relentless need to dominate the room. The documentary frames this as the moment Diddy learned the core rules that would define his future: how to control attention, how to perform confidence, and how to command loyalty. By the time he stepped into the music world, these traits were already ingrained. He wasn't learning on the job, he was executing a blueprint that had been forming since childhood.
For Sean Diddy Combs trying to stop the release of a Netflix docuseries due out today.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business.
The series contains never-before-seen footage of Combs debating strategy with his lawyers in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last year.
I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
It also includes video of Combs greeting fans in Harlem.
Off my back. Long you win. I'm going to win. Long you win, be with it. I'll accept it.
And then saying this about the interaction moments later.
I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I got it. I've been out in the streets amongst the people. Yeah, I got to take a bath. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like 150 hugs.
Now Combs' lawyers are demanding Netflix pull the series, threatening legal action, claiming Netflix is using stolen footage that was never authorized for release as part of what they call a shameful hit piece. The series is executive produced by Combs' longtime rival, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, and director Alex Stapleton, who said, quote, "We obtained the footage legally and have the necessary rights," end quote. Before the cease and desist demand was sent yesterday, Stapleton and Jackson sat down with our Robin Roberts to discuss the series.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
It's not personal.
The show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. Not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this.
As the story unfolds, the documentary begins to explore the darker implications of this upbringing. Insiders describe Janice's influence as deliberate and deeply calculated. According to sources like Gondal, she didn't just encourage ambition, she engineered it. Every lesson, every interaction, and every expectation was designed to mold Diddy into someone who could dominate any space he entered. From a young age, Diddy was taught how to command admiration, how to read people, and how to assert control without appearing overtly aggressive. These skills later became trademarks of his public persona. In the music industry, this translated into a reputation for intensity, precision, and authority. But the documentary raises an uncomfortable question: at what cost? Former associates suggest that this level of conditioning blurred the line between confidence and control. Diddy didn't just want success, he needed it. And failure wasn't an option. Janice's influence, according to insiders, wasn't passive. She monitored, advised, corrected, and steered. This wasn't a supportive background presence, it was active management. These early lessons fueled Diddy's meteoric rise, but they also laid the foundation for behaviors that would later raise eyebrows.
Combs' sons Justin and Christian are teasing a new docuseries about their family. Justin and Christian King Combs appear in a new trailer released December 28th to Instagram by Zeus Network's founder. In the trailer, Justin and Christian sit on a couch in a screening room while a series of headlines about their father cycle on screen. At the end of the trailer, Justin's phone vibrates and he answers a collect call from the Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institute, where Combs is currently behind bars. No release date for the docuseries is given, though the teaser says viewers can expect it at some point in 2026. Combs shares Justin with ex-Misa Hilton and Christian with the late Kim Porter. The rapper is also dad to 34-year-old son Quincy and daughters Chance, 19, twins Delilah and Jesse, also 19, and Love, who is 3 years old. Combs was transferred to Fort Dix from the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York in late October after he was sentenced to 50 months in prison on prostitution-related conviction.
To understand Diddy's ascent, the documentary pulls viewers back to Harlem, long before fame, money, or bad boy records. Diddy's early life was marked by tragedy when his father, a man known locally for his influence and connections, was killed while Diddy was still a toddler. That moment didn't just change their family, it reshaped the entire direction of Diddy's future. With his father gone, Janice Combs stepped into a role far larger than that of a grieving widow. She became the center of gravity. According to people who were there, Janice transformed their home into a non-stop hub of activity. Influential figures, neighborhood power players, and respected names passed through regularly. These weren't casual visits. These were strategic gatherings where conversations carried weight and decisions mattered. For young Diddy, this environment became his classroom. He didn't learn about power from books or school. He watched it happen in real time. Everyone in the neighborhood understood what that house represented. It wasn't spoken openly, but it was known. Respect was earned there. Influence was exercised there. And Janice ran it all with precision. This wasn't chaos, it was controlled energy. Diddy grew up observing how people responded to authority, how favors were exchanged, and how reputation could open or close doors instantly. The documentary suggests that these early experiences hardwired Diddy's understanding of hierarchy and dominance. Long before he entered the music industry, he had already learned how power worked and, more importantly, how it was maintained.
Zeus Network has a new Diddy documentary coming out, and this time it is coming from the perspective of Diddy and his sons. All the time I thought we were about to leave Diddy in 2025. Well, this documentary is coming in 2026. And a lot of people, just like myself, are already not feeling this new documentary coming from Diddy's sons. A lot of people aren't happy about it and actually shocked that the owner of Zeus Network, Lemmy, is doing this Diddy documentary. But what a lot of people fail to forget is Lemmy and Diddy have been friends for quite some time.
Of his children arriving in court for day one of their father's trial in New York, hands gripped in solidarity.
Do you still believe your dad's innocent? How did you feel hearing that testimony? Have you apologized on behalf of your father? Do you believe your father did it? You still convinced your father did it? Your daddy does for you! Your daddy does for you for abusing women! That's wrong! You did that wrong!
The family, the foes, the joy, the pain, our voice, the loyalty, the betrayal, the lies, the love, the hate, the truth, the lies. And Diddy calling from Fort Dix.
This is a prepaid collect call from Federal Correctional Institution, Fort Dix.
When they released this trailer last night, there were so many comments to Lemmy and Zeus Network that they did not want to see this. A lot of people feel like this whole new documentary is just a PR narrative, once again being pushed by Diddy and his sons to try to clean up his image. And after hearing certain things on 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, we have to go back in time and remember what we were seeing during trial. Even when it came to Diddy's sons, Christian and Justin Combs, they both came on two separate occasions to trial wearing a free Sean Combs shirt. The first one to do this was Christian Combs during Jane's testimony, and you're not supposed to wear this stuff in front of a jury to try to sway their opinions. And the judge actually told him he had to leave and take it off. And then literally like a week later, Justin did the same exact thing. It was taken out of the courtroom by the judge. And we already saw the videos in the Netflix doc of Diddy talking to Justin, saying he needed to push out certain content to control a narrative. During the trial, there were a lot of things going on that I could see that to me felt like it was just straight PR. Do you remember all of these people that were wearing the free Diddy shirts? And it was actually a meme coin that's on their shirt.
As expected, 50 Cent caught wind of it hitting the news, hitting the blogs, it being on the timeline yesterday that Diddy's sons, Sean and Justin, will be dropping a docuseries of their own to tell their side of the story, their experiences, and how they view things on the Zeus Network. Well, 50 Cent put it up on his Instagram page, and he promoted the trailer when you look at it from the other side of it on the marketing side, but he knows it plays back into the doc that he just dropped as well with the record, and he put it up and said, wow, I want to see this show. I'm not sure this was a good idea. And he tagged at 50 Cent Action, letting it be known that this is really pro